I know you guys have heard this time and time again, but I'll just say it. Injuries suck. They're one of the most common ways that players can fall out of their primes and eventually out of the league, especially if they keep piling up as time passes. Every single player in any sport ends up on the injured list at some point in their career, unless you're this guy. But in baseball, it seems like we hear about these 6 guys ending up on the IL every year at some point. All the guys I'm going to talk about are players that, when healthy, are really good at what they do, but they always seem to get some sort of ailment every year and end up on the shelf. Some of these guys have been able to come back and play well, but a couple of them have had their careers virtually destroyed just because they've had to endure so many injuries. Mike Trout is probably the most well-known baseball player who falls under this category now, because during the 2010s, we all know how good he was, but other than the COVID season in 2020, he hasn't played a full year since 2018. His first injury happened on May 28, 2017, when he tore the UCL in his left thumb as he slid into second base, which caused him to miss over 40 games. Once he came back, he continued to hit as well as ever and remained relatively healthy for the next few seasons. However, the injury bug hit him again in 2021, when on May 17th, he felt something wrong in his right calf and was taken out of the game. Trout was then expected to miss 6 to 8 weeks, but because of multiple setbacks and the Angels falling out of playoff contention, he didn't play again that year. The next year wasn't as bad, as he missed about a month with a back issue, but 2023 and the current season we're going through have ended up becoming lost seasons for Mike. On July 3rd, 2023, he broke the hamate in his left hand while swinging the bat, and eventually returned on August 22nd, but that'd be the last game he'd play that year, as it turned out he just wasn't fully recovered from the broken hamate. Finally, Trout began to feel soreness in his left knee on April 29th of this year, and following surgery to repair a torn meniscus, he took only one at-bat in AAA Salt Lake City on July 23rd before tearing the same meniscus again, ending his season. It remains a mystery as to why he just can't stay on the field anymore, but I'm not the type of guy to say that it's over for him. I hope that he can have a healthy season again next year for the Angels, and he can remind everyone that he's still one of the most talented players in the world when he's on the diamond. Speaking of the Angels, yes, the Halos seem to have been cursed with not one, but 2 players who are great when healthy, but the problem is they're never healthy anymore. While it's fair to not call Anthony Rendon a great player anymore, especially considering what he said about his mindset to approaching baseball, a great player is what the Angels thought they were getting when he signed that giant contract with them in 2020. Ever since his solid 2020 season for the Halos, it's been nothing but pain for both the Angels and Rendon. In 2021, Anthony only ended up playing 58 games and ended up needing season-ending hip surgery after multiple IL trips. The next year featured 47 games of Rendon before having to undergo surgery on his right wrist that had already put him on the shelf. In July 2023, he had played in 43 games before fouling a pitch off his shin that turned out to be a fractured tibia, causing him to miss the rest of the season. During the current season we're in, he suffered a tear in his left hammy on April 19th, and after 2.5 months on the IL, he went back onto it with lower back inflammation in mid-July. If you're keeping track, as of the recording of this video, Anthony Rendon has played in just over 35% of possible games since signing that 7-year, $245 million contract with the Angels, and due to a combination of injuries and lackluster play when healthy, it's come down as one of the worst contracts in MLB history, and man, it's just been nothing but pain and heartbreak for the Angels for the last decade. Giancarlo Stanton is another guy who's had it pretty rough, as ever since his first season with the Yankees in 2018, he's appeared on the IL one way or another every single season. While none of them has been as bad as his face fracture on a hit by pitch in 2014, they've really hurt the Yankees and have more than likely been the cause of his decline as a hitter. In 2019, he suffered 4 different ailments, including a torn bicep, sprained knee, and strained quad that caused him to miss 144 games that year. In the shortened 2020 season, he played in only 23 games before straining his hamstring while playing in Tropicana Field. In all fairness, however, 2021 did go a lot better for him, as he played in 139 games with about 20 being missed due to a strained left quad. 50 games were missed the next year due to a combination of right ankle inflammation and tendonitis in his left Achilles, and 60 games were missed last year because of a strained left hamstring. He's been dealing with another hamstring issue this year, and it's really unfortunate for the Yankees that they haven't got to see the full potential of the Giancarlo Stanton-Aaron Judge duo, as they've both had their fair share of injuries over time. For Giancarlo, however, it may be nearing the end of the line for him because of his age and his near impossibility to get a full season out of him anymore. The Twins are a team that's been a rival of the Guardians for a bit now, and in general, it's a shame that Byron Buxton misses so many games every year because he's a real difference maker when he's out there in center field and at the plate. Ever since coming up with the Twins in 2015, he's missed time in every single season he's played in, and in the one year he was healthy, which was 2017, he earned a few MVP votes and won a Gold Glove in center field for Minnesota. There's been a lot of injuries that Buxton's had to go through, and I want to cover them as quick as I can. In his first year in 2015, he missed about a month and a half with a sprained thumb, and then spent the next year bouncing between the Twins and AAA because he was still young and developing as a player. After missing only about 2 weeks of time in 2017 because of a left groin strain, he took 4 separate trips to the IL in 2018 because of migraines, a left toe fracture, and 2 different left wrist strains. These injuries resulted in only 28 games played by Byron that year, unfortunately. 2019 saw him go through a right wrist contusion, a concussion, and left shoulder subluxation, leading to Byron missing about half of the season. He went through left shoulder inflammation in 2020, followed by a right hip strain and left hand fracture the next year that caused him to miss about 120 games. From the 2022 season till now, he's had to endure other ailments to his hip, rib, hammy, and his knee. And like I said earlier, it's a shame that this is what became of Byron Buxton after the Twins took him 2nd overall in the 2012 draft. If he can stay healthy, the little Guardians-Twins division rivalry that's been going on can definitely pick up some more steam. Jacob deGrom is a guy that, at least from what I can tell, almost everyone in the baseball world feels bad for because we all know just how dominant he was as a Met, and he turned into one of the most dominating pitchers in baseball, backing that up with back-to-back Cy Young campaigns in 2018 and 19. While he did endure some injuries in his first few years in the majors, they weren't happening year after year, unlike the ones that would follow him once he turned into his early to mid-30s. You guys should all still remember that historic pace deGrom was pitching at in 2021, as at the All-Star break, he was 7-2 with a 1.08 ERA and was cruising his way to a Cy Young award. In mid-July, however, he began to feel tightness in his right forearm, and it got to the point where he just couldn't come back that year to continue his dominant regular season. Unfortunately though, things would just get worse for him. In 2022, he didn't make his debut until August because of a stress reaction in his right scapula, and after signing that big deal with the Rangers the following offseason, he made only 6 starts for them in 2023 before dealing with right elbow inflammation, which led to him undergoing the dreaded Tommy John surgery, and he hasn't pitched in an MLB game ever since. Of all the guys in this video, he's probably the one I feel bad for the most because he's a pitcher that has the talent that could put him in the Hall of Fame, but he's just been through so much untimely injuries and he's had that spot in Cooperstown probably taken away from him. On the bright side though, it does seem like he could return at some point this season and help try to give the Rangers a last-minute wildcard push, but it might take a lot more than just deGrom to give that team any chance at a playoff spot. The last player I'll be talking about here is one that some of you guys might not be familiar with, and that's Michael Soroka. For those who don't know much about him, he was a pitcher that came up in the Braves organization not too long ago and played a huge role in helping the Braves win 97 games in 2019. He went 13-4 with a 2.68 ERA as a 21-year-old All-Star, and he finished runner-up in NL Rookie of the Year voting. After making only 3 starts in 2020, however, he suffered one of the worst injuries any person can go through, a torn Achilles. As if it couldn't get any worse for him, however, less than a year later, he tore the same Achilles again, just simply walking into the Braves clubhouse in June 2021. Just absolutely devastating for him and the Braves. After missing 2 full seasons because of these injuries, he came back last year pitching between the Braves and AAA Gwinnett Stripers, but he ended up feeling inflammation in his throwing shoulder in September that ultimately ended his season. This year though, not only is he going through so much pain already just by being on the White Sox, but he's currently on the IL with a right shoulder strain. When Soroka came up with Atlanta in 2019, he showed so much promise as a rookie, and had all these injuries not ever happened, he'd probably still be a rock-solid starter with the Braves at the very least. But sadly, that's not how it turned out, and instead he's gone down as one of the more recent what-if stories in MLB. I said it at the start of this, and I'll say it again. Injuries suck, and I wish that there was a way they just couldn't happen, especially in sports. In the case of these 6 players, they've all had a good chunk of their careers taken away from them because of all the ailments and setbacks they've had to go through, and it's been really sad to see. However, I will try to end this video on a positive note. I do commend these guys for not giving up whenever an injury comes their way, and they use these setbacks not as an excuse, but as motivation. And this is a thing that all athletes need to hear, whether they're a kid or a professional. Whenever you're down, work your way back up. And when the time comes, use it as a way to remind everyone why you're playing the game you love, and always make sure to keep that love of the game with you at all times, no matter what may get thrown in your way. Thank you guys for watching my video, and I hope to see you guys again for my next baseball talk. Thank you.